Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to another Sunday evening. Come to the round table where we talk and discuss issues affecting Jamaicans at home and abroad. Today, somewhat special because we are going to focus on a gentleman from Waterhouse, King Tubby's. Many people throughout the world know of King Tubby's music, his works, his life, and his tragic death. We have with us today two individuals who are going to share their insights and experience working with King Tubby's. We have Sister Maxine, who is a influential individual in the local music industry, reggae music industry. We also have Fatman. Fatman was trained by King Tubby's. I said trained because he learned, he was understudy to King Tubby's. And I don't want to take anything from Fatman, but I have to recognize the role of King Tubby's. Both of them going to lead us into this discussion about King Tubby's, his life and works. And with me, I have Las Crawford, Patrick McCarthy, Rupert Walters, Herb Nelson, and we're waiting for John Arton and Will Rattigan to join us. I hope the audience, the listeners, will also join in this discussion. Right? So, without further ado, I would say, Maxine, the floor is yours.
Well, the
King
floor is
Tubby's.
yes, greetings to everyone on the platform
Yeah, John.
and
All right.
to the
Okay, cool.
audience.
Yeah, we not me glide. Cool.
Right. So, last week as we were closing off the reasoning, we acknowledged that that was the Earth Strong of King Tubby's, and so generally as we focus in on the development of Waterhouse and um, the music culture and how it can be more integrated into development, it promoted that we should honor King Tubby's role and life, and in order to, give even further depth to why Waterhouse is such an important space in the history of the Jamaican music industry and should serve as an important space in the future of the industry. So we are looking forward to reasoning with special guest Fatman based on his um, first person role with King Tubby's, to which I can add a more general role through my relationship in the industry, but specifically with Sugar Minot, which is where I interfaced with Tubby's through his engagement. I learned obviously more in depth about King Tubby's as I myself began to focus on um, the technological side of the development of the music industry, where I, began to dive deeply into how um, the engineers and the electronics professionals, the major impact that they had, have, and will have in the development of the industry, even so much as the cultural aspects that, we focus on, the Rastafari, the Nyabingi, the R&B and all of those influences. But the channel which they come through, and really in my research, the very sounds that we speak of, they really come forward to these professionals. And I look forward to hearing from Fatman, and getting more information on the day-to-day, seeing that so many producers and engineers came out of King Tubby's uh, university, basically. So I pass it over now to Fatman to tell us about his experience, and then we can uh, speak on the wider influences that I may also have been engaged in throughout, and why this work is the foundation for some projects that Michael and the Waterhouse crew are pursuing now on the ground in Waterhouse. So over to you, Fatman.
Honestly, I don't even know where to start.
At the beginning.
No, because my view is that January 28th or 28th, King Tubby's birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, that should have been a historic day.
Yes.
I don't know. Me never do no check still, but me not see nothing in the print media or nothing on the radio stations to say yes, this was a historic day, the birth of a great man.
Yes.
Me think the media should have used even a little bit in the piece of the day there to show Jamaica who that great man was. It never happened. Well, not to my knowledge.
No, it didn't happen. I don't. I'll punctuate that with the fact that January 26th is the birth date of Clement Sir Coxsone Dodd, and outside of my advocacy and social media output, and in the light of the great celebration and investment in Dennis Brown and Bob Marley's birthday, uh, it is a very, and the fact that they're in the halo. This is a week before. This is the week where they launch Reggae Month and all of that. That it is significant what Fatman is saying, and this was one of the reasons why this program is important, and why the project, and why Waterhouse has to step up to the advocacy, because no one is going to do it. That's one thing I've learned, especially in these type of national platforms. Unless there's a lobbyist and advocate to step forward, these things will never get the
Highlight.
recognition that they need. So this is an important program and an important conversation, Fatman. Possibly we have to lobby for January as a month. If they don't seek to include these pioneers that are so essential to what they intend or are accepting to promote in February, then we just have to seize the moment and you know put forward our own month in January to celebrate their foundation investment to make February occur.
Well, if I did join this group, yeah, go ahead,
Maxine,
Rupert.
Maxine Fatman, just a little point. I think it is significant also to understand that our brother, the King, was murdered on the 6th of February, the exact day that both Dennis and Bob have been celebrated. So from the
And
point of view of the 28
and Bunny Ruggs
when
too.
he
Bunny
was
Ruggs.
born, let me just finish there. From the point of view of the 28 when he was born, is roughly about 9 to 10 days, as it relating to the calendar year, that he was murdered. So it's both the commencement in life and the fact that we want to remember him because he was killed on the 6th. I just pause here.
You know, me I gotta take a note of that. Because that is important. So you see, if we in highlight, me sorry, we wasn't lobbying from before, so we could have bring it to the media before now, because I see everything passed and gone. So anything we have to know, maybe it's for next year.
Yes.
But Fatman, can you tell us who Tubby's was? Tell the audience who Tubby's.
Tubby's Osborne
Yes.
Rodak, man. Osborne Rodak. I know me don't know Tubby's middle name, but Osborne Rodak, me know him as. That was a father we never know my mother. Tubby's was my father we never know my mother. Because the father figure we me never have, Tubby's was the man there. When Tubby's come in at daytime, driving the little cartina, go in them office and take off his shirt, Tubby send call me. And the reasoning when me and Tubby's put down at daytime when P go in our studio, and them reasoning me didn't expect from my old man. Me never get that. Me get that from Tubby's. So I respect the man down to the ground where he walk, man. That man they show me the ropes of life. Who never know Tubby's, know say Tubby's. All right, who Tubby's a man not going away publicly. Most of Tubby's business are me insane. Remember one time we go down at Tough Gang, some record a press film down there, and the client them a wait for it so long, and every time Tubby send me down there, you know, say them have a whole thing a press, so it couldn't get for deliver in time. So Tubby's had to go down there himself to find out why I hold it up, because the client them a ball feet and we can't get to ship it. And when Tubby's go down there and go into the office and talk, and by the time boss man go down at the press and say, boss, I want to make Tubby's come to me in person. Everybody run go to the door for go see this man. The time Tubby's gone already, can leave me if you take care of the business. So everybody did want to see that man, to know that man. But it's like, he's a man where him not really in the public eyes. All that business and me himself go take care of it. So it's like when Tubby's eye closed now, everybody start put this man on the forefront. It shouldn't be so. Because from all my years down there, me never see a media was come on and come even try to talk to him. Me never remember seeing that.
But Fatman, I don't want to interrupt you, but just to highlight a point you just made, right? I mean, it is so profound, the point you made about him not being more of a public person, because that's kind of the Tubbies we know, even from the Waterhouse side, right? Everybody know Tubbies. Not everybody even know what him look like.
Exactly.
Right? And this was the dynamic thing about Tubbies, that he had such an impact, yet we never really feel his presence in terms of, you know, the physical man, but in terms of his impact, that's how we really experience him. So this is what I want you really bring out now in terms of what is Tubbies really as a person behind the scene.
Tubbies is a teacher. I don't know if me can talk for any other student, but me can talk for me, because when we learn from him, me still I use it up to today me on a mixing board. The Tubbies come out in a me. Because me just come from around a digital mixing board And me I tell you, look like the Tubbies come out in me today. So he was a teacher. The first time when me I cut dub round at Tubbies. And the first time an eagle broke. Me feel like I do whole student drop down for me. Because all the man them make it sound like Tubbies are gonna take off me head now when him come and realize an eagle broke. And like Coxon, him call everybody Jackson. If him can't remember your name, him call you Jackson. When him driving, him say, come here, Jackson. And him show me a dub where how it look when the eagle broke, or one look when the eagle don't broke. I said, next time you cut, from you see the groove look that way, yeah, the eagle broke. And up to today, me can, if me go anywhere do back cut and now, me can show you if the needle broke, if it a cut and no tune go upon it, or it a cut blank, me can show you that. Or Tubbies teach me. We know the leading group, the lead out group, the end spiral and all and things like what look on the record. Tubbies teach me them things. Tubbies was a teacher because when him sit down in our studio, I always sit down round there with him. I will stand up with him. He might tell you what him doing. What to expect when him do that, when him turn this button, what's supposed to happen. So, and like other man, we just stand up and watch him, you have to watch and learn. He might tell you what he might do and tell you the effect, what him expect to accomplish when him do it. So him basically a teacher the thing. So he's a teacher. And as me say, when P go in the studio, me and him and I'm officer, we are raise the father to son. So all the way, me never get from my old man as I growing up. Me get all of that from Tubbies. Any business transaction for do a road, I meet Tubbies send. I'm to tell you, for sure you, me never go there as an engineer, me go there as a technician. I force my way in the studio. Can give me a circuit for build, and me build the circuit and it work good. So me decide, say, boy, no sir. We are going to manipulate the circuit. So we manipulate the circuit and Tubbies plug it in him to pay for your gas. It worked good before him coming up. But me just rearrange it now because me I say no sir. And I have something you want there. Because me do round at the front part I do the repairs. And by the time Tubbies come and plug it in, oh, what kind of eat that thing? So go on nice studio. They say, yeah, man, there's something you want to go. And then he just come in there. Only thing short in the studio is a blackboard and chalk. Because the man show me down to the T. When we have a channel one go to live session, Tubbies no go. And me him send. And me go take care of the business for him. Because all our live session, they go channel one to do it. Slyer, light parks, and the whole works. Everything do a channel one. And they will carry it back at film studio come do all the recording. But trust me, that man, film memory shouldn't just fade with up. And some little man know where not do half the amount of contribution to this industry what Tubbies do. For them name a call so much of the time in this business. Yeah. It's unfair. And the industry cause it because not doing that the industry if you remember the man great works. If you not talk to elder people, them no for the young people tell them about Tubbies on the work say so we know I forgot try bring back the man memory to the forefront so everybody know who was this man. Can't remember you know when him create dub, his buck up. If Bonley was
tell us about that.
If Bonley was alive, Bonley can attest to that because Bonley tell me more than one time.
But tell us about the creation of dub because that's another key point he make because Tubbies really is the original man.
Yes,
we come with dub, right?
It's
so
I mix something for Bonley. And now in them time there, yeah, mix on the fly. Anything you do, I saw it record unless you're gonna do it over. So when him press the 2-track for start record and him press the 4-track for play, him punched the mute button to unmute the vocal track, but I don't know if it press properly or something, or the mute button a get problem. The voice never come in. And but Lisa, no man, make it go on, man, go on do your thing. And then him start putting him little reverb and him little delay here and there. And it run off same way. When him finally get the voice to come in, it come in at a little part and then just bring in the voice and put in and just put a little delay upon it and it just delay or fade out. And the rhythm run same way. That's a version make. So from that now, that the whole that we start do, we never used to have no artist and DJ on the next side. We just take out the voice and mix the rhythm. That's how they don't invent. It's a mistake.
As you mentioned that Fatman, something come to mind, right, with the music. And it's so amazing you made that point about the dub, right? And Tubby's coming up with the dub, because one of the things we have seen subsequently with music is that, like, for example, in the US, right, in the black community, I think they come up with them called scratching, right? I don't know if you're familiar with it. You're supposed to be familiar with it, right? And when I think about it, as you just explained, it's like that too have its connection with Tubby's bringing in the dub, right, and the version, because that in the era when that happened is like everybody now start to come with version, right? Everybody start to have their own version, and you know how much version them have of music and all of that stuff. So all of this, you know, again is bringing the impact of Tubby's and the industry, you know, in terms of all these, a lot of these variations that we come to know, right? You put a finger on it in terms of its origin.
And if you listen back to some Tubby's mix, and you hear like the little reverb, plang, plang, plang in some part of the song. And why the studio never wire good enough? So it's like you have a specific fluorescent light. Anytime you turn on the light there, the ballast, when the ballast start up, it get a little flickering sound there. So the reverb pick it up. So most of the time we have mix, we just play with it like purposely, you know, just to get the sound nice and you know. And if you don't know if you remember, the used to have a ear, and it echo out. That is a 1K test tone where you use in a them time that when you before you mix, you have to align the tape. So you use the 1K test tone to align the tape to make sure all the frequencies the way you record go up on the master tape. So all him do, him just press it and let it go and put the tape the delay upon it. So you hear the it's really a 1K sound. It's a tone generator. And we use it back in a whole fortune after. Up to recently now, in this Pro Tools era, the hear people I use it. But that Tubby's one. Tape delay at Tubby's one, because we never have a digital echo, because them time we don't have a digital delay. We would have 2 4-track machine in the studio, 1 4-track. So we have a 4-track with a record pan, and the way we go mix, we take it off and that's it, they put it on this tape and mix. So the 4-track we use do the recording, we have a tape on that and do the delay. So we just send back the signal in it and loop it, so it just delay. So you hear all them echo the pan them tune in them time there. And if you look pan Pro Tools, no, you see tape delay, I see 1 2-track machine as it. I thought this thing that too.
Problems.
Yeah. That is some key. That is some key points to make.
But what is interesting is that the information on King Tubby's techniques and how his studio was set up. We lost Fatman.
No, I'm there.
Oh, okay. Now I saw somebody go.
Mikey.
Oh, Mikey. Okay. all of that information exists external to us in Jamaica. The world knows. I mean, when I'm listening to Fatman, and really the words and the descriptions are actually coming alive in terms of someone that was there, living through the what has been set out on behalf of him. So what is interesting for me observing, here is the gap from the Jamaican level, from the Waterhouse community level, from, our understanding of our pioneers and contribution, and how it would mentor us or mentor our communities if this information that was born out of our community is now not in our community, not even in our country, um, you know, to fertilize
It
what we're doing. Meaning it is really why the project is important.
And
Um,
it is so sad, Maxine, because if we ever try to even recreate some of that history, we have to find ourselves a Seattle. We,
yes,
we
right.
we have
Yes.
to go to Seattle because the Tanai speakers were in the studio and the MCI mixing board in our museum at Seattle.
And I think that museum has been closed down. So it's actually in storage. It's not
So,
even being displayed.
so I don't know. A couple of years ago, I went to a lecture at Institute of Jamaica, well, years ago. And it was mentioned that, and all me here say, they might try get back the mixing board and the boxes them back to Jamaica. And this from them time then. So the museum closed, and as you say, we have to try a lobby to get them back. If they want me, go for them myself. Because me know them. I work for years, me work with them, so me know them, me go for them.
Right.
it's
But
it's
tell
interesting.
us some more about that. Tell us some more about that, please.
Just
I
just
mean,
a minute, Patrick. It's interesting that Maxine and Fatman raised this point because it's a point I've seen in the music industry for years, where when it comes to the history of the music, when it comes to collectors in the of the music, and just historical, any kind of historical reference of the music, it's mainly in the hands of foreigners. Some of the
Exactly.
biggest, some of the biggest reggae collections, most of the books that try to capture the history of the music are foreign. It raises a point that Fatman raised at the beginning, wherein he highlighted that he had not seen like any movement with anybody trying to recognize or highlight anything about King Tubby's in the media or in the country. This is very sad for the music. I mean, what happened to the Jamaican journalists who are really, really interested in the music to come to somebody like Fatman and say, Fatman, make us sit down and talk. Talk about who King Tubby's was, how the music thing, how you see the music thing develop inside a Waterhouse from the influence of King Tubby's. We are those people in Jamaica. We are the people in the Ministry of Culture inside of the country that can organize projects, right, to highlight both the history and contribution of the local artists, the local engineers, right, and the local producers. We are those people. Why do we have to depend on people from abroad who can capture all of this, and they are the ones making the money from the history right? And from the reggae collections. That's a disgrace.
Well, it is
Last,
a go
last,
ahead.
Yes,
Maxine,
Rupert.
I just want to make a quick little point here. Outside of the music, I think there is some other aspect of our culture that we don't actually have control over as it relates into disseminating information. The fact is that presently the person in the world that have the largest catalog and our music in general, not just reggae, the dancehall aspect, and prior to that, Rocksteady, etc. It's Stefan,
Roger
that
Stephen.
gentleman somewhere must be in California,
Roger
right?
Stefan.
Now, the point is that our intelligentsia in various fields, people like Maxine, Charles Campbell, and we can go on and on and on. And me not criticize nobody personally, but I think to some extent, either the vision we short in terms of the vision, or secondly, we lazy from an intellectual point of view. But if you look at most of the culture internationally that is being spoke about Jamaica, it's either secondary or third in terms of the information. And 9 out of 10 times, the information themselves is leave a lot to be desired. Is bulls, right? In terms of its accuracy. And I think this is a huge problem that we have in this country. And I want to give thanks to Waterhouse Vibes, because at least for the first time, there's one community, Kingston 11 and Firehouse, that want to take ownership in terms of the information and to put together that information and present it to the world. And I want to big up again Waterhouse Vibes with Michael and with all the brethren them who involved in it, because it's a good way to start. Sister Maxine I figure 110%, because Maxine is one of the individual out of this country as it relating to the music that from a intellectual point of view can actually sit in forum these and basically can give you a history in terms of what is happening and so on and so forth. But the essence of my point, what we have is a very lazy intelligentsia within the space, and we're not sufficiently are visionary to own what we have. That is my point.
I want to shift the argument. I want to shift the argument to Tubby's and the relevance of Tubby's to Waterhouse. How can we get this across to the people of Jamaica? Tubby's relevance. Second question, what can
Mikey.
we do?
All right.
Go ahead.
The first question.
No, just before you answer the question, Fatman, I look at something, because everything pretty much tie in, because that question which you raise, Mikey, is directly connected to what Rupi is saying, right? It is directly connected. I mean, Rupi raised a super point there, but I'm just looking at all the discussion flowing, right? And what is coming out to me is that a lot of the things that are being raised are discussions in themselves, right? Because Fatman bring out something first of all which really cement the real concrete way in which Tubby's has impacted the music industry in Jamaica, right? I mean, it's like you can easily say Tubby's is the father of the music industry in Jamaica, right? In terms of its direct identity, right? Because it not only impact an area, it not only impact a country, right? It's something which impact the world. And we see a whole heap of things evolve from that, right? Now, furthermore, Maxine brought in another key point right there. And I'm just looking at how with each person coming in with it, it all tying. But every piece which you bring up is so important that it is a discussion in itself. And to Rupi's point, I mean, oh my goodness, man, it was so timely, right? But it's one thing I don't want to slightly disagree with you about, Rupi. I don't think so much is laziness. It's more a matter of really it painting a picture, right, of the system under which we live, right? They will take talent and they use talent and make an industry out of it, right? No, because historically we are not part of the industrial development, right? Except for the labor part of it, right? What happens is that we don't get control of anything. And that's basically what we see with Jamaica, right? As things start to really develop as value, it's taken from us and taken overseas. That's what they do with everything. It's not for us. It comes from us, but it's not for us, right?
Can I say something?
It's really a matter of really understanding how industry works.
Can I say something here? I think we are forgetting something important, and that is when Tubby's music started, it wasn't for upper class people. It was really when you go to a Tubby's dance. I don't know how many of you have gone there. I assume Rupi has gone to Tubby's dance. Tubby's dance was like a coming together of rude boys, you know. And that is something that the middle class and everybody look down on. Among the grassroots, Tubby's is popular. But remember this, they destroy his sound because they claim that all he does is just merely gangster follow him. They destroy the sound in Bull Bear. The point I'm making is that we must not forget that the class society in which we live, certain music and people like Tubby's were not celebrated. They were looked down on. So I think that is part of what make Tubby's is somewhat unknown to a segment of the Jamaican people. I'm telling you, man, the only people who come at Tubby's dance, and I say this, you know, because Fatman, remember Little Roy, who used to live in front of Miss Arnold? We were the ones who used to transport Tubby's, you know, Little Roy truck. And every dance you go, believe me, it's bad man. Individuals who were see labeled as bad man. That was the Tubby's thing. And the society wasn't going for that. So my question now is, how do we correct this injustice?
Well,
do we correct it by establishing a monument for Tubby's in Waterhouse? Or how do we correct this injustice? We have given so much to Jamaican music culture, especially dancehall.
I was thinking about that some time ago. But the last time me passed around where the studio was, it turned, look like it turned in a little semi-apartment right now.
Yeah, them knock it down. Them build up.
So that out of the question. That out of the question. So I was thinking of White House. I was thinking of White House.
Former PMP office.
Yes.
David Core office.
Yes, your farmer David Core office. If we can get White House, resurrect White House, bring it back to a nice building, as a Maxine said, the museum locked down, we'll go back for that MCI board, because if in case you never know, that board was a one in the island board, because the only board of its type MCI made. Nobody else know can present a similar board to that, Nobody. Every time somebody call me about that is on that particular board. Them because them can't find it nowhere else in no other studio, nowhere else in the world. I don't know why. But to my understanding, MCI only made that one. I don't know how Byron Lee get it, but MCI had the old one MCI because it was Byron Lee originally owned board,
Yes.
Yeah. I give Byron Lee give it to Bunley and Bunley give it to Tubby's because a Tubby's studio Byron Lee Bunley used to use. But I Byron Lee originally owned that board. But Tubby's now, because if you're the word Tubby's, it have something to do with low frequency. So I don't know if I saw Tubby's acquired the name, because it has something to do with low frequency. But when Tubby's got that board, him going at it and boost the low frequency so you get more low end out of the board. That way MCI did it with.
Right.
So that's why that board is so powerful. So if we can get back that board, get back the 2 Tanai box them, put them in our room, get some buy and some things about Tubby's and put it in a White House. One of the MCI machine, right there, with a go feet, put it in the museum too. And trust me, a lot of people from all over. And the door, because I think the door is still around there, because people still call me ask about the door. Because there's a door around the mark King Tubby's where singer named Robert Lee. His dad was the one who carved the door. So that door is supposed to still around there. I hope Chichina eat it down. But if you can get that door too, put in at the museum, that can resurrect Waterhouse, like, man, because people from all over would have come just same like how them go to Bali Museum.
Yeah, that's an excellent suggestion, Fatman, because when you really think about it, the White House is really a historic site.
Exactly.
Right.
And it now not right now.
That's a nice way for tie it in, yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not far from Jomele Avenue, so
no,
it's an excellent suggestion.
Well, I went on tour with Chris.
Yeah.
And I did see the building, and the suggestion is on the board. Because
the suggestion already. I suggest it because I was thinking of making a wall of fame, but we was thinking of St. Patrick's School wall, but we said, well, this is going to create a huge traffic jam because everybody are going to slow down for real, because Waterhouse produce the most hit artists in out of every community in Jamaica.
No problem.
Them only get trenched on the props because of Bob Marley and Anthony Ellis and a few more. But if you check the history of Waterhouse produce more hit artists and musicians than any other community in Jamaica. So if we decide to use St. Patrick's School wall for paint up everybody's name, it going to create a traffic jam because Bay Farm Road very busy at morning time. So if we get White House, use the building as a museum, and they will put the paint on everybody name on the wall. It's a nice thing for come look pan.
Well, the point is, I was saying about the tour that I did of Waterhouse and the significant sites, because even King Tubby's house, or where the studio was, there's a wall there that has been protected, meaning
with a record on it.
With a record.
Yes, yeah, right, man, that's still there.
That is still there, and that has been protected because Waterhouse has been noted under the UNESCO Kingston Creative City. Two spaces, Trenchtown and Waterhouse, were noted for cultural preservation and development. So this is what I'm saying too. In engaging, there is there is knowledge of what we are presenting. We are not presenting knowledge that is not known. What is happening is that on the community level, there needs to be a receiver, a family, a entity that engages now with the recognition, and that entity also, as we are discussing here, Fatman, and as you are saying, has to have the knowledge and the authenticity to meet this history, right? And develop a plan which is in works. I'm speaking of it, and I'm not speaking of something to do. I'm speaking of something that is in progress, that is in itself, even with your inclusion today, seeking to structure, right? To be met, to meet this history that exists. Because it's not just the collectors that have left Jamaica or are taking things. Our whole Jamaica music industry is offshore, right? They had to leave, and it comes to what Patrick is saying, that we have a hostile political economy when it comes to our music or anything coming out directly out of the people, based on the labor capital relationship in Jamaica. And even if the labor accumulates capital, they are blocked from entering into the ownership sphere because of, whether you want to call it class or whatever, I just say the political economy is structured not simply to say, oh, everybody can, individually access wealth or etc. When you do access the wealth coming from a particular class, you're still blocked from the power structures that govern the economy of Jamaica. So seeing that our businesses, Randy's, Studio One, all the major businesses had to leave, and are domiciled in New York, in London, in Miami, right? That would normally be circulating the economy back amongst the communities and the people. We're only left with artists and producers who bring in their share of the economy, but the majority of the industrial part of our local industry exists abroad in our diaspora, right? So if we don't analyze that and incorporate why it is that way, you understand? And then come up with the solutions. But because we are not allowed to analyze, because there's a political problem that surfaces now once the analysis is made as to who is doing this, why are these blockades, why can't the wealth that is being generated, why isn't it returning structurally back into the communities? It's not a personal issue between me as an artist or whoever has, it is ownership. We are the companies. So if we can't say that our companies are in Jamaica, that is where the first line of analysis must go, that the local music industry had to leave and exist abroad because of policies and environment. And there has to be a discussion about that as to why international companies don't invest in Jamaica. Obviously, they want the music, but they have to invest through when the music leaves here. That's not the case in other countries. They go in there and partner with the leading record company of that country. And that is how the development process occurs. Why hasn't an international company over the 60 years of interest in Jamaican music, why has not one company partnered with a local company? And then why is there not a local company in Jamaica? Right?
Got
So
it right.
that is the basis of why everything is owned abroad and
All
why
right, cool,
international people
cool.
are collecting our music. We didn't even have a depository to put our music. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a lot of structural problems that has nothing to do. And what they do, they keep us fighting with each other as if we have a role in why the thing isn't here. Like we doing something wrong on the creative level, on our contractual relationships, etc. When the very structure, like a Dennis and Geddes or a Grace Kennedy or a Red Stripe, all of those other products that came up with the music, they have big establishments on Spanish Town Road or whatever road, Garvey, whatever drive. The music has nothing. You understand? And it has nothing because our companies failed to thrive in Jamaica, did not get the support, were seen as enemies to the state. You understand? Because it is empowering the constituents, the artists, the as Michael was saying, the sound systems is for the rude boys and the downtown culture. You understand? Which, we need to just analyze and say, hey, this is what happened. This is why this is so. And so all is going to the United Nations, UNESCO, etc., for recognition and getting these accolades coming back through the same governmental system that is denying us infrastructure is the problem. This is why the communities need organizations on behalf of themselves, because the weakness even of King Tubby and a lot of our pioneers is their own family. Their own family structure in ownership are the first line owners of the assets of the history. And those families are in deep disarray, right?
Uh,
And so when they die, their estates have no uh,
Structure.
structure or even understanding of what the
Yeah.
parent or whatever the parent have multiple baby mothers, children not married. Then the administrator general takes over. They don't know this, don't know that. We have to acknowledge these issues and
so
say, well, yeah, why is King Tubby's home not protected? Why is Kappa home not protected? Come down to the family member who decides to sell or decides to, this is not, you understand? Or decides
mhm.
to give away this for whatever it is.
Can we bring Herb? You've been silent. Can we bring Herb into the discussion? Herb, what's your
Okay.
take?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Okay. I, when the first question was asked, Mike, you recall what question you asked? You
relevance.
you asked who was King Tubby, right? And the answer, and I'm not criticizing, but the answer never went far enough that if we had an audience who wasn't aware of Waterhouse, or wasn't aware of King Tubby, that they would not fully grasp everything that King Tubby did. Right now, if the Copilot, which is in Bing, Microsoft Bing search feature, if that as an AI existed in the earlier days, we wouldn't have to worry about having a historian, because with all the articles written, you would be able to pull all of that into Copilot, and Copilot could give you a historical context to all the artists. For instance, what he's telling me, King Tubby was a Jamaican sound engineer and producer who is widely regarded as the pioneer of dub music. And then they describe it as a subgenre of reggae that features remixing and manipulating existing recordings with effects such as echo, reverb, and filters. Right? And then he was born as Osborne Ruddock, 1941, grew up in Kingston, started his own sound system, Tubby's hometown Hi-Fi, in 1958.
Mm-hmm.
He became famous for his high quality sound, exclusive releases, and innovative sound effects. He began working as a disc cutter for producer Duke Reed in 1968 and discovered that he could create new versions of songs by removing or emphasizing different instrumental and vocal tracks with the mixing desk and effect units. He soon became in demand by many producers and artists who wanted him to remix their songs in his distinctive style. He opened his own studio in Waterhouse, tough neighborhood in Kingston, in the early 1970s, and produced many classic dub albums and singles with such artists as Augustus Pablo, Lee Scratch Perry, Yabby U, and Johnny Clark. He also experimented with new technologies and genres such as digital and dancehall music in the 1980s. And of course, it says he was tragically killed by a gunman outside his home in 1989. Never gave the exact date, which you did. But his legacy lives on in the influence he had on Jamaican and global music. He's often cited as the inventor of the remix and a source of inspiration for many genres such as hip hop, jungle, dubstep, and electronic music. Now, if I look further, he's telling me that King Tubby influenced electronic music by inventing the concept of remix, which involves manipulating and transforming existing recordings with various effects and techniques. And it went back in the pioneering of the use of echo, reverb, filters, and other sound effects that became common in genres such as dub, hip hop, jungle, dubstep, and techno. He inspired many electronic music producers and artists with his innovative and experimental approach to sound engineering production. So this artist, our man, what it's telling me that he never really came into the business to do the mixing as such. He came in the business to produce transformers so people's electronics could could stay in balance. That's what he really was. He was a technician. And it somehow transformed himself, just like you were talking earlier, Fatman, that you wanted to go from being a technician to getting into the studio and doing something, right?
Definitely.
So you mimic exactly what King Tubby did, right? The only thing, he was ahead of you.
Exactly.
So it is amazing. Now, the fact that the guys left Jamaica was maybe because when you look at the Marley story, and he had to go open his own studio, become his own promoter, so that the people who promoted him and became millionaires, billionaires today, right? That he could get his own profits. So from a business aspect, I look at it like the soccer players and some of the other basketball players who make it big and get multi-million-dollar contracts. You can't hold on to your money unless you go back to school and do some accounting and basic bookkeeping. So you know where your money going, and you do like study investments, right? Because a lot of artists, a lot of boxers, Muhammad Ali, you look today, you have uh what's his name? Michael Jordan, right? And now we have our own footballers from Jamaica get multi-million dollar contracts. And so how do you manage that money? Our artists wasn't being taught these things in the earlier days. As a
Still
matter of
not
fact,
being
most of them
charted.
were being robbed.
Still not being charted.
Still not being taught it. That's right, Patrick.
It's
So I
But
mean,
but but I want to bring the argument back to Waterhouse and Tubbies because the question is, we all recognize that Tubbies made a significant contribution to Jamaican music culture. My problem is that there's nothing celebrating Tubby's life.
But
Words. So
Fatman spoke to that point.
yeah, I'm getting to that. How do Maxine? What do we need to be doing just now so Tubby's can get recognition? What is it that we need to be doing? It-
Setting up a local uh, association in Waterhouse surrounding the music and culture. Because you can't set up something for Tubbies alone. You have to set up something that Tubbies is at the center of, and a main driver. And I'm saying this because as Herb uh, just spoke, there's hundreds of articles and sources with the exact same information. And the reason Fatman would not come out to relay that, because Fatman, in the manner that Herb spoke, because the urgency of Fatman's situation is the preservation and identity.
Yeah, man.
That is what he's urgent about. The fact that Tubby's birthday was a couple days last week, and there was not even a mention of him. You know what I'm saying? So if he gets an opportunity to speak, that is a everybody don't know Tubby's. Why isn't he recognized in my hometown? Why isn't he recognized in Jamaica? Why isn't he, you know? That's gonna jump out. Just like myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I already studied this problem. I know what the issue is. I know what the solution is. That's why I'm here. And so I know that the solution comes from family and community. The government is there to facilitate something, but because there's no family and there's no community, they do what they want for their issues of tourism or foreign exchange or road, right? So we are lobbying here now and circulating the information that what is necessary in Waterhouse, because there's no family. The families, as I went through the other day and toured all the major sites of cultural significance, have been, they're not there. We're holding on to walls and, pictures, and then sourcing spaces like what Fatman says. What is another central space large enough and accessible enough to hold the history in a certain way, almost like how you have Trenchtown Culture Yard. You understand? When you go in there, you get a sense of the history of the place, and from that center, then you can go on tour and look at the wall, because people want to go and touch the Wailing Wall or whatever door, knob, or even the street that a person lived on or manifested certain history. So the core that we are, well, certainly I'm communicating in the Waterhouse uh, scenario is to admit that we don't have to promote anything. What we have to do is structure something from a community, from persons who have invested their time and knowledge, etc., and go plug in. You understand? But what is missing is that entity and or family. And since there's no family from what I see and observed, it must be the community that structures itself and moves.
But Maxine, let me
Michael,
ask you. Let me just
allow
find
me.
1 second, Rupert. Jamaica has museums, historical museums.
Herb, just a minute. Herb,
Yeah. Can't hear you, Michael.
I think he froze up for a minute.
Rupee
Mm.
was saying something.
No, make Herb go ahead and then
All
I'll
right,
come
continue,
in.
Herb.
No problem. Go ahead, Herb.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ruby, but what I was trying to do a follow-up to what Maxine was saying. Who or where are the cultural centers in Jamaica? And have we asked them to set aside a portion for the music development in Jamaica? Have we talked to anybody? I just look in here. There are over 94, and that shocked me, radio stations. I put it in the private chat. 94 radio stations in Jamaica. The power to do an insertion in these cultural centers should come from the majority of these radio stations.
They're playing foreign music. You must think how much of that 94 is playing local music.
But before that, it's interesting you mentioned that, because that's another thing that can be attributed to Tubby's, Because Tubby's was one of the first person I know outside an established radio station to even experiment with broadcasting.
Exactly.
Right? A lot of people don't know that.
Exactly. I forget to mention it.
Yeah.
And he was arrested almost.
Yeah, man, and then they shot him down feet.
Exactly. But I want Rupee, I want to bring in Rupee right now still. I want Rupee to say something right now, particularly linking back to the points he made earlier, and in terms of what is happening in Jamaica now, in terms of tying in some of these historical pieces into our educational system and our development, because that's really the key. When we catalog all of these things and so on, it's for who? It must be for the Jamaicans.
But it's interesting that...
Let me tell you what I want to say. Let me tell you, I want to agree because I think yourself, Michael, and Martin to some extent raise the point that one of the reasons why somebody like King Tubby is not basically respected both nationally and internationally is because we happen to be in a so-called third world country, just like in Africa and in Asia and other part of the world, where the big powers basically just steal what we have in terms of our natural resources. In Africa is the diamonds and the whatever and so on, and the gold and all of that. In Jamaica, the main natural resources we have is basically the goal of our music. So I agree with you guys in a general sense. In fact, I have a discussion with Chris and Claudette coming out of the space of a Waterhouse, both of them from Moscow. I had a discussion with them about 3 or 4 days ago. And Chris said to me, which Chris raised a profound point, that if King Tubby's was a white European, King Tubby's, just like how you have Sony, another international, multinational company that deal with electronics and so on and so forth relating to music, King Tubby's name would have been an international brand. And that point was so profound. So I agree with all of you guys, but let me tell you where I disagree with. And we have to find a way as Jamaicans and as black people to see if we can minimize it. What I disagree with is for us to constantly use the ignorance and the plundering and the thievery of imperialism, of America and Europe, and to use it as something to say, basically, we can't do nothing, or and this is only the reason why they were with there and so on. No, I refuse to accept that, right? And I see some young revolutionary in the African space that basically I show that if you're serious and so on, we can't take with thing. I see man I run France out of them country. The entire diplomatic corps run them out of Africa, right? I am saying that in a situation like this, one of the things we have to do, the very point Maxine raised, that families themselves sometimes don't even know what kind of right them have. The family themselves don't understand what them supposed to do in order to celebrate this man and to earn what them can earn from it in terms of legacy, right? And it take people like Maxine, and we not personalize nothing now. And it take people who are in the industry and know these things to help to disseminate those information and to see if them can help and bring people on board in order to basically start to earn and take back some of these rights. As it relates to Fatman proposal, I think there are some things that we can immediately do in trying to restore some pride and start. And it can be simple thing. One of the things maybe I have to say, if we can get the family to agree to paint the place, do back the big record, and maybe do a huge mural at the King, right? It's just to start somewhere where economically it won't take a lot of funding and you get people to agree. Maybe we can start there. We can maybe start to negotiate to get that door the Fatman. What else that is here that maybe we can take? Right?
Well, only the door alone enough now, don't they?
I come into your Fatman. We have to minimize the discussion around difficulties and to see where it is possible and there's just one little iota of light and flicker that we can use in order to start the penetrate. I agree with you guys, the structuring of the thing. I agree with Maxine, I agree with Patrick. Yes, the structuring. But anything that we can do to start the process and to start to elevate and to raise the level of consciousness of the immediate family and the people within the immediate space, then we need to do that.
Yeah, but the we that you keep saying, but the we has to be registered to receive. So you're saying that you're green, but you put a but in there and there's no but. Unless the we is registered as a structure to receive and to implement, there's nothing
you
can do. So I understand what you're saying. I'm telling you, the we is
yeah. The cataloging have to start now, right now. Everything, the whole organization is not a separate thing. It's a total inclusion. I agree with your baby steps, Rupi, but at the same time, right? It has to go along with the bigger picture.
And part of the baby step, because we generally agree that little things have to be put in place from now. And part of the thing in terms of cataloging is just to start collect the little bits of history. Because remember we say a lot of these foreigners, they have more of the artifacts and the history because, and this is coming out of the history of the music. Remember, in the early days, up to the 70s when Tubbies are implementing things, a lot of the music that was being played, like that Tubby's was putting forward, was not being played on the radio. Remember, at that time, RGR was one of the major music force in the country, radio station, and that was one of the stations who were not playing that kind of music, right? So, in terms of getting some of these things to the higher up communities who could impact the development of the music, it was not recognized amongst that section of the society. Herb raised about the radio stations. Yes, there are 94 or more, probably more than 94 radio stations, but they are, most of them, experimental and community-based radio, right? Radio stations, a lot of them is radio stations and platforms like we are having here. They are not radio stations with a lot of resources behind them, right? A lot of them playing dancehall and playing reggae, which is giving the thing a broader reach than it was in the 60s and 70s. But we have to recognize that a lot of them don't have that kind of resources. But what we need to do now is the baby steps, the cataloging of the history. Just like how we have Fatman here, and Fatman can give his personal upfront connection with Tubby's. These are important steps, right, in getting other people to know Tubby's, right, to recognize him for what it is, because we have people with direct link and contact and information about the man. We don't want to wait until we hear say Fatman drop out or something to Fatman. Yeah, we say, you know what, we miss an opportunity, or the country missed an opportunity to connect with Tubby's, because there is living proof and living connection with the man. If this thing develop to a project where we can get people to visit Waterhouse, deal with the music, to view like in a museum setting.
For real.
How important you think it would be for a person like Fatman? Fatman is not the only man in the boat. As an example, people can interact, can come to Waterhouse and interact with people who are here now, who interacted and who are the influence.
So who is going to organize what you are suggesting?
That is where we need to go to, and I agree with you. We need to put the people and the structure in place. We have been talking around these things for a long time.
No.
What we need to, well, not you, but a lot of us have been talking around these things as to what we think can happen to bring to the fore the whole cultural aspect of our communities, Waterhouse in particular. But it is important for us, as you are saying, Maxine, to find the people who can come together, form committees, form registered organizations, legal bodies who can take on some of the work to put the thing together and make it work. Because we would not like to see a situation, I personally would like to see a situation like is happening with the culture yard in Trenchtown, where yes, you have a culture yard in a Trenchtown, but the community at large remains the same. Would I love to see a situation in a Waterhouse where whatever is happening is about lifting the culture and lifting the entire community together, right?
Transformation.
Transformation. Not just having the murals on the wall and a space at the White House, right? But we can see the impact and the interest and people bringing in the people, bringing in the youths, bringing in the elders of Waterhouses to own this thing and see it as an important vehicle for develop the space. But Maxine point, how we get these structures in place, what we need to do, who are the people available to be part of these committees and structures?
Michael? We're not hearing him.
Michael, you're muted.
Muted.
Unmute Michael. Michael, unmute.
You're
Not
still
hearing him,
muted.
Mikey.
You're still muted.
Yeah.
All right, you're good now.
No, there's a small group that is meeting and discussing setting up a structure to deal with the whole Warsaw's culture and heritage and what have you. It's a small group and we are trying to work through the challenges and the difficulty. That's one. Maxine, I have 79 albums from King Tubby. That's what I have. Now, when you look at the tracks on these albums, most of the rhythms are studio one.
Michael,
Studio,
sorry, me have to stop you. Michael, sorry, me have to stop you. I think we are skirt around this thing in terms of the structure. Brethren, I have come to several of these discussions, and every time you say last consistently raise the thing in terms of the structure and thing. I don't understand why you say like a while. We need to know where we are, because if the structure is not put in place, it means that we could come here and we have these discussion 1,000,000 times and we go back and we repeat ourselves and so on. The thing just now go nowhere, brother. Make we discuss what is to be done in terms of trying to put this thing together.
Okay,
All right.
What needs to be done is this. We are looking at how to structure this organization, and we are doing it because of the main challenge having to do with the Jamaican banking system. Right?
All right.
In terms of how we set it up in America, collect money in America and transfer that money to Jamaica. That is something that we have to think through, because those are legal issues. And with the Jamaican banking system, nobody trusts that. So that is where we are, But I tell you that there is
all
a
right.
group
My next
that
question to that. My next question. Is it that the body that you set up in North America is going to be the executive body over the local body here? Or you are going to set up bodies simultaneously and basically have an executive body that merge between what you have up here and the local body? Where we go?
What we have just now and what we sort of coming to is to set up an international organization with a local subsidiary. That is what we are looking. That's the model that we are looking at. Maxine, you can say something more to this. John is not here, but that is what we are looking at, right? Based on the interaction with yourself, Chris, and what have you. The idea is to set up an international organization that can receive funds and also can fund local initiatives. So that is what we are looking at. That's where we are at. Maxine, you want to say something on it?
Yes, well, the pattern of the organization is to follow the pattern of the industry, which I said that the local industry exists in the diaspora. So if you don't have an organization that is communicative or structured within the diaspora, then you will be like what we have been for the last 60 years in Jamaica, trying to get the attention, right, of the local government or players in Jamaica who are not making any money, you understand? And who are like depending on foreign, United Nations, etc. When the industry, the actual money that is being created by the music and the influence and the lifestyle companies and all of these players who don't even know that you exist because you have no representative, you have no hand up in the room to say, this is me, this is Waterhouse. You understand? There's no visibility. And because we have a strong diaspora, we have to recognize who is the diaspora, why we're here. We're not here because we're run out. You understand? Or that we are here trying to make a living to assist our families, majoritively, like about remittances. We remit. You understand? So it's really to understand how the money part works so that we can receive the international benefits from the music and partner effectively on the ground in Jamaica with the community, the infrastructure there. However, the board and the executive of the organization would be heavily favored with local directors. So it's not an international entity without strong local input, because it has to have that authenticity as well and that character that.
Can I input here, Maxine? Because I hear you. But I understand on that financial side and the transferring of money cross borders and all that kind of stuff and how it might affect the whole organization of the thing. But my first stage of organization is at the local level, in putting in place a structure on the ground, a broad-based structure on the ground that can start move and get some of these organizations in place. Why I'm saying this is that it's some of the things that Fatman raised about getting the doors and getting this and getting, the small moves. Some of the small moves can best be done with people who are organized at that level to influence the community. You're going to need people to influence the community and bring them together.
But that already exists, lad.
No, listen what I'm saying. I'm not just Chris, not just Mikey.
I'm not, but that's what I'm saying. Chris and Mikey has identified to me, and I'm aware of community-based organizations that already exist, that are already speaking with TPDCO, that are already engaged with building out a facility at the community center. I am aware of those community-based organizations that are already engaged, but you don't have a spearhead. You understand what I'm saying? To drive the creative music input, and those creative music inputs are international. You understand? They're not local, right? Because your local music industry exists abroad. Just understand that your local record companies, your local lifestyle, what do you call it, entities are in Florida, in Atlanta, in New York, Connecticut, Toronto, London. You understand? You need an activist pull that energy together to assist the local, because the local, there's no industry there. There's a it's whatever it is. So I'm just saying to you that the community, I've seen it in Trenchtown. It has to work that way. We can't go and set up a community organization and say, oh, we are the community. No, they are existing organizations.
What I'm thinking about, though, like, what if one of us, being in the space that we are outside of Jamaica, want to say to somebody, this community is doing X and Y. Can you contribute? Can you contribute as an individual or as an organization to this project? What is the entity that we can connect them to that is existing as a structure on the ground?
That is what we are working on. That is what we are working on. To set up that sort of entity that can accept, that can solicit and accept donation, and also give a benefit to those who make a donation.
Because I'm thinking, Mikey, we know the challenges, and if we go and wait until only the big moves can be made, I mean, a lot of projects get lost along the way.
I tell you, we are not waiting. We are not waiting. We are working on it. We are working on it.
We need to have something where if I can go to a brethren or two, or a sister or somebody I know with a business here and say, I mean, this is the organization that is conducting X and Y. What can you do to help this organization? But you are the
organization, and I think this is where even myself, as someone that moves between Jamaica and the USA, I'm between Jamaica, New York, and Miami. I've spent the latter part of almost 20 years, right, on the ground in Jamaica, and I'm speaking from reality. I went there to talk about what you were talking about there, saying like, oh, Jamaica should do this, and Jamaica should do that, and Jamaica should do 1 million things. You understand? And I'm saying I see a maturity in a reality that the Jamaican that is abroad, that is, because you have Jamaicans abroad that are not interested in any way in anything that is occurring in Jamaica.
True.
Right? And then you have Jamaicans that are abroad that live for Jamaica. You understand what I'm saying? So a structure to say that if I say I'm here now after 20 years in Jamaica and pure foolishness, you understand? Based on how they're set up, and I know I have a freedom of potential here and understanding. I'm not looking at somebody in Jamaica like they are there and I'm here. We're one. I'm working on behalf of what I know is going on in Jamaica. So the activism or the attraction to even work with a collective is based on their interest on the ground in Jamaica. You understand? And they're understanding day to day what is happening there, what is happening here, and a real deep, to contribute and such a structure. I can't be in Jamaica. I was there for 20 years going around like Ray with these people. You understand what I'm saying?
Maxine.
Hold on, Herb, hold on. I want to bring Ratigan into the discussion. He hasn't said anything since we start. Ratigan, what is your take?
Well, it's kind of, I don't know, I'm at a disadvantage because I came in late and then left and then just coming back. But, and so what I'm going to say is subject to full correction. Subject to full correction. No, it's subject to full correction. So, like I said, I'm coming in late. So I'm just going to, based on what I heard over the last few minutes, is this going to be specifically a U.S. organization with tentacles in Jamaica and elsewhere, or is it going to be a Jamaican organization with tentacles overseas? I'm not quite sure what we're trying to achieve here, because you have tax implications, you have reporting implications, you have a bunch of implications depending on where you file, where you register this entity. So I need somebody to tell me clearly, what is it going to be? Is it going to be a foreign-based organization with a satellite organization in Jamaica, or the other way around?
We are thinking about a foreign-based organization with a local satellite.
Well, then Rupert's point is should be considered, because if you do that, then if it's a U.S.-based organization with a satellite in Jamaica, his argument is, okay, the corporate structure, how is that going to look? Is it going to reflect people living overseas with just an organization in Jamaica as a satellite, as you said, to receive benefit? Because they'll do some solicitation, but most of the solicitation will be done overseas. Yes. So you have to be careful, or you have to be careful how you set up this structure.
We're trying to be careful by engaging your services.
But here's the root of the problem.
Just something. Let's Patrick. Let him finish. Finish, Will. Finish what you say.
Right. So, because as you know, if it's a 501c3 organization, then you can do it, but then you'd have to set up the 501c3 organization. I think you'd have to set up another organization in Jamaica, right? And that organization would be the beneficiary of whatever you solicit here. But then I'm not so sure that you'd be able to, how would you involve Jamaica in your corporate structure in this organization here? I don't know how, and how would you select those people?
Through your deed of trust. Listen. Mm-hmm. It's not people, it's institutions. Because I see like Sony Music, for example, and they have a global program that they're investing in countries on a philanthropic basis. They're investing in countries all around the world. Right? Because it's a global music, they have a global marketing of their company and brands. So we are not trying to become Jamaicans abroad. We are being forced to become Jamaicans abroad because of the hostile and in whatever type of situation is on the ground there. Otherwise, we would certainly be in Jamaica creating these entities. I'm involved in non-profits in Jamaica. Our biggest problem is funding and communicating, getting resources. So those resources are available through our communities abroad who have interest. You understand what I'm saying? In investing, then we have to have a vehicle abroad to tap into where those resources are. So whatever is the best way to do so and keep the relationship intact, then that's what we have to do. You understand what I'm saying? Because we can't be like, oh, is this Jamaican? Is this the people there and whatever? It has to just be done legally. I trust. The mission. I don't know how you get to that.
What I'm looking at direction and control of the parent organization, and I understand where Rupert's coming from. And so let's put it in simple terms. Let's say there's a project you want to work on. Who will direct that? I mean, will it be directed by the people or by the organization overseas, or will it be directed by, or will the organization in Jamaica will say, this is what we want to do, and we're just a funding mechanism for them. We don't have any say in it. How will that structure work? I'm talking about the decision-making structure. what would that look like?
But what I'm saying is what I'm really am, right? This is Waterhouse vibes. There's no Waterhouse in America. The only Waterhouse that exists is in Kingston 11. The mission of the people are they live abroad, they come from there, they want to assist in the development of there. They're going to set up a Waterhouse incorporated in America, right? With the aim and objective of assisting their communities in Jamaica. Where does this argument now about Waterhouse and control or whatever, executive or whatever, where does that come from? Because it's not a USA Bronx organization. It's a Waterhouse organization. So in the mission, in your memorandum of understanding or articles, all of this will be, I mean, the only thing that you would include in your memorandum is what it is that allows you to be legitimate in the USA according to the USA laws in regards to tax, money, etc. But that's why I said we are asking for the designer of legal mind to give us that instruction, but don't be I'm answering in a way that I'm not interested. I'm interested in this discussion because of its input into Jamaica. So to say who's going to have the control over it, if it is the people abroad or the people on the ground, it kind of makes my brain fuzzy because I'm saying like I don't know about I don't know how to deal with that in answering you. I'm asking you for the structure that will allow for this to occur.
I think let me
But Maxine.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Will.
No, go ahead, Rupert.
That was
Patrick.
Yeah. This is
Patrick,
a discussion. Yeah, this is a discussion I had with Michael before, right? This was a discussion with me and Michael going back, not even last year. I think it's going back 2023, right? When Michael started to mention about, started to bring me up to date on the whole situation with the, the center in Waterhouse, right? The CDC. And I pointed out to him, right, that it's a very complicated thing to do because you have to understand that we're working under a system that is not one that is friendly to what we are trying to do, right? That's the first thing. Secondly, right, we're talking about setting up something where, for the most part, the people who are likely to benefit have absolutely no idea in terms of what they would want to set up and how they would want to set it up, right? It's funny, Maxine mentioned about Sony, right? And Sony's philanthropic work and so on and so on. These things are just labels they use, but understand this, right? The lesson to draw from that is, right? No simple, what's a non-profit term, Will? 501c3.
C3, yeah.
Is going to speak to the problems of what we'll encounter, right? It is way more complicated than that, especially when it comes to remitting money from the US, right, to Jamaica, right? It's some serious laws you have to deal with. And it's some serious situations you have to deal with in terms of how to set up the structure and so on. It requires tremendous research, right? The lawyers who deal with stuff like this is not even the regular lawyers.
Right? True.
So a lot of what we're talking about here is more speculation than anything else.
No, it's
right?
not.
No. Hold on. Just follow me closely. Last made a real serious point, right? In terms of really what approach we take to dealing with the structure. And the first approach you have to take in terms of dealing with the structure is, right, try to vision what you're trying to set up. right? And it has to be something which has to be put in a way that everybody can understand and appreciate, because this is where you're going to bring people on board. And that has to originate on the Jamaican side, right? It has to originate on the Jamaican side in terms of what it is that they would like to see, right, in the community, right, to symbolize what they really want to achieve. Right?
Aren't
And
they
then
doing that now?
That's not happening. That's really not happening.
What do you mean?
It's a situation. It's a situation
What
where there is
what is that?
As Michael said,
happening?
right? There's a little group doing a thing here. There's somebody else doing something there and so on, but there's no cohesion.
There's no cohesion in the whole country. What
Exactly.
I would say you're.
No, what I'm saying, I just trying to figure out my own head here.
And then the other thing, the other piece to it is, that in terms of anything we set up, right? You have to have where if something should happen to Michael, what happened to, what the work that Michael has been doing?
You put it in your corporate documents. That's what I'm saying. You have corporate, what do you call it? Lawyer, speak up, no man.
You say no, but Maxine, what the points that are being raised, they're critical points, and so I would like to hear, because Rupert was about to say something. I just want to hear. In my head, I'm going through it.
So digital.
All right.
We need to set up a corporate company then, and not this and set up a corporate company with a philanthropic arm. Or what? Because we want freedom we don't want to be held down with any kind of theoretical.
That is probably the easier way to go.
All right. The first thing that comes to my mind, any organization or group that basically is going to deal with a project that have to do with Waterhouse and Sunny Level, in a nutshell, must be composed with persons within that space and persons who are resource persons like Maxine. There's two different points. One for Michael that says it is a banking issue, why you have to be the executive and Jamaica be the satellite. Maxine's point is somewhat different, saying that all the control of the industry is abroad, is in London and America and Europe and all over the place. I have a slight little difference with that. There's no way that you can deal with a project that is as fundamental as this project and don't get Jamaican capital and Jamaican input. That is imperative. The question of ownership can be reliant totally and basically wherever we can get from abroad. Or maybe the term pretense might be a wrong term. But it has to be in a general sense, brothers and sisters. A project that is basically generated and being an organic project from the people. You can bring on a resource person because the people might have the technical and the other knowledge in order to put the thing together. But guess what? The people is no satellite in a project like this. The people can come in.
Why are you attaching the people to the structure? This is what I'm saying. If the structure is needed to
because
be
Maxine, there is no structure. Maxine, there is no structure without people. There is no structure in abstraction.
I'm talking
structure
to you.
Is composition of people.
No. I'm saying the person, the activity that you want to occur. Because when you talk about ownership, it's the people in Jamaica that own Waterhouse. Nobody abroad that would be the people abroad in whatever I'm thinking is happening. You understand? Wants to contribute to the infrastructure, the development, the etc. that is in Jamaica. There's no ownership. Nobody from abroad wants to purchase Drummondley Avenue and said they're going to own it. What they saw, what they see, or what they're responding to is a lack of resources on the ground amongst the people that are there in order to get their reality upgraded. So these people abroad want to have a vehicle, you understand, to act in the best interest of, and to say, yes, we're going to raise resources to assist the people in Jamaica. So where does the ownership as satellite or whoever, that is what
Can
I'm
I
saying, where do those characteristics
No.
can I say
of
something? Can I
power?
say something? Rupi, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, lads.
The best for me, as someone who has been involved with community organizations for a considerable amount of time, I believe the best public relations for any foreign garnering of resources is to have a structure on the ground with people who are interested and mobilized to tackle whatever problem there is on the ground. Our problem on the ground is to raise the awareness of the cultural value of the community, right? And to use that as a vehicle to try uplift the community. It is another thing to identify and gather resources abroad. If I believe, this is my belief, if we want to approach any organization for funding and for any kind of other resources, the best vehicle and the best public relations we can have is to say there is a working organization on the ground, right, that is in place. They are in place to do the work that we set out to do. They are in place to accept whatever funding or whatever resources that you can muster from anywhere, right? Without such an that is the first part of the organization I believe that should be put in place. The organization and the structure on the ground. The structure above that, whatever structure exists above that, have to be built after to reinforce and to provide the support and whatever else. But there has to be something that pulls the community together, that bring out some kind of awareness that more and more the community can get involved and see what we are doing. If there's not a community that can see what we are doing, it don't make sense. We can be doing things, right? Putting an organization in place above the community, and the community don't understand one bit what we are doing. And there's a disconnect. We don't want to have a disconnect in we doing one thing. We think the community know what we are doing, but there's not an organization in place to transfer the information, right? And the activities that we are doing on their behalf so that they can understand and support us. We have to have an organization in place that can recognize and support us.
I
So
thought,
last,
I thought those
Can I say something
organizations
here?
existed.
Let me say something. First, no, just a minute. Let me just say something here. What we are doing is guided by Chris, who is president of the CDC in Jamaica. Right? That's the first point. The second point is the issues we are discussing. I think it's best taken up with a CPA or a lawyer, because We are dealing with US tax laws. Okay? And with that comes certain responsibility. Okay? We want to set up an organization that can tap into that structure. By that I mean, here in the United States, each citizen, each resident is allowed to donate $20,000. That is the sort of thing we want to get into. Now, to obtain that money, nobody is, they are not clear as to one, who is in charge of the local government, the local organization. And from what I'm gathering, it's much better to have the US organization managing the local organization. It's much better tax wise. I see you shaking your head, Patrick, but I talked to CPA, Herb brother, and he made some suggestion. Herb, can you share your experience in terms of setting up, because you have set up non-profits?
Yeah, I mean, right now we, meaning Mr. Rattle and myself, have the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation set up in very much the same way I think you guys would want to set up a body here in the US, right? And the bottom line is, those people who make considerable contributions, they'll be able to get the letter at the end of the year for federal income tax, even though the federal income tax the threshold is much higher. So whatever money they give, unless they have about 30,000 or 26 to $30,000 in expenses, and in charitable gifts over 10,000 that they're claiming, there's no money to claim anymore because Trump changed that system. So the bottom line that we're looking at is, you have the organization that you start here in the US, and you, on the ground in Jamaica, exists over 100, and put it in the chat, over 100 of our museums and what do you call them? Museums and they're the landmark galleries. So it's the same way like you're doing records. You do the promotion here, you set up everything here, and you promote everything to the museums and the galleries in Jamaica, so that they can come out and they can give it, do what should have been done decades ago by having a historian. But in essence, you're doing all the work from here, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's a simple matter. One of the things I was looking at, let me just finish with this. One of the things I was looking at is the fact that VP Records, Chin Randy, right there in New York, right? They are now the world's largest independent label and distributor of Caribbean/Jamaican music, with a catalog of over 25,000 recordings. And you're gonna tell me that if we approach Chin Randy's up there, that they wouldn't be able to be our main sponsor for this project, put the money forward and get their name out there, because the name is out there already.
Let me add something, Herb. I think there's a simple way to deal with this, right? And the simple way is this: Rupert, Lass, and Patrick, they're of the opinion that you need a local structure, which you don't have right now. You have a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of things. And they're saying, look, let's consolidate. Yeah, they're saying, let's consolidate our efforts for this project then. If it's going to be the Waterhouse development, whatever you call it, and you have one organization, I would suggest that they do the Jamaican version of the 501c3, and then you form a separate entity here. And you can call it Waterhouse, whatever you want to call it. You can even call it the same name. But you do it like how we did the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation, which is it's a funding mechanism.
Yeah.
It's a funding mechanism to direct funds to that organization identified in Jamaica. And the way you set it up, you can name 10 organizations, 20 organizations, whatever the number is. But I think in order to streamline the thing better, I think you identify the project that you're working on, you get the groups together, you get that organization together, and like Rupert is saying, because then you can also solicit funds in Jamaica, and we would just be a funding stream as well. And you could set the same thing up. You could have a similar organization in Canada and one in the UK. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Fair enough.
That's the easiest way to do it.
Excellent.
And then what would happen? It would be a Jamaican-based organization getting funding from overseas, and we would be.
Definitely.
And I guess just to add to that, Will, it would be an organization here, right? And in throughout the diaspora, where it's a membership organization as well.
You could do that, yes. Yeah, you could structure that.
Michael, I would propose. My proposal is that you ask Will, who is competent, basically speak with the authority and have the experience to just basically do a proposal in terms of maybe him can give with the option him just say, and maybe can another option. But basically, just something in terms of where we can actually start with. I think that Will is the best person to just put something on paper and we take it from there.
All right. Okay.
My Ruby, you just volunteer me.
I volunteered him before you here, Ruby.
Oh yeah, we know Maxine, me here.
All right, Maxine, I hear you.
And that's
remember, you just want to fire him like a while, you know. You are questioning whether everybody right man to the job.
And that same note, may I beg Michael, Lass, Patrick, Rupert, Maxine, Herb, with the legal assistance of Rattigan to try get that mixing board and them two Tanai box there from Seattle.
Immediately. I'm on the job already.
It don't make no sense to set up this structure and when I have nothing historical for the people them come look man.
No.
Sure.
It will be in our schedule.
Gentlemen, Sister Maxine, I think we had a wonderful discussion, very informative. So we don't have to go somewhere. We have to meet in private. We're going into the plenary to have a discussion about that.
As soon as we get them, make me know because we have to preserve them there.
Yes.
Well,
no, here's
what
you
can
man, remember that you have a job too, you know. You have to try and see if we can source that door.
No,
we can start the discussion with the family.
We go down, no, all right. The family, we talked to the family up to late last year, about November last year.
Right.
And them don't know nothing was going down at 18 legally. According to Freetime, as we call Tubbs' daughter. She behave like she don't know what's going down there. I mean, go talk to the people, and it's like the face of the lady I give me. It's like she attacked me with attitude.
Yeah, that's why you need an organization.
Fatman.
Yes, sir.
Please, I'm asking you to link with Chris.
Michael, me just send you some picture of the condition of the place. I don't know if I say me Maxine go see it there, but me send you some picture a while ago.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk with Chris. I want to move on to a separate issue right now, and that has to do with Rattigan. I'm not sure how many of you are following the news, but a gentleman, the Minister of Misinformation for the Jamaican government, I think Ian Rattigan will be heading into court sometime.
Oh, I think he might run for local government.
Me?
Rattigan. One man tell him yesterday, one woman tell him yesterday that he should run. And she said, anytime he's ready, she'll come
She
home.
got Jamaica go vote.
Go vote. So, Rattigan, can you tell us what's happening? What is this thing with Morgan and Nesta and Robert and you? What's going on? Is it because of the election? Or what's going on, my brother?
I don't know what's going on with him, but a couple years ago, I got a phone call from him. Actually, I put it up yesterday, a text message as well. And he got my number from a mutual friend, and he was calling me. At the time, I was hot on Minister Kamina Johnson's trail regarding the Commonwealth and the failure to file. And he called me and he was trying to encourage me to drop my pursuit. And I said to him, no, because I have the document showing that she was supposed to and she didn't. And so that conversation didn't end well, and he blocked me. I just found out he blocked me because I was sending him messages, for the last year and a half or so. So 2 weeks ago, he went on a program. There's a group of 8 of us, and we're responsible for getting the protests going. And I don't know if Fatman know about the protests, but we have some protests lined up. We did one in Miami 2 weeks ago. We have one May 10th in New York. Herb is working with Captain Francis to do one in DC in June, late June. And then I think Lonesome is doing one up in Toronto, and then we have some people doing one in London. So we did the one in Miami 2 weeks ago, this past Friday. And on Sunday, exactly 2 weeks ago, there was a program put on by a JLP supporter, and the minister was on the program, and he had the Captain Francis, the person who's chair of the Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force. And on that program, my name came up. I don't know why it came up, but came up and he made some statements. And the statements they're very false and they're very damaging. For example, he said that basically I was kicked out of the FBI. Said that my wife was Muslim. I don't know what that had to do with anything, and that I had taken a woman. I have to go back and listen to it because this is just people reporting this to me. Because while that program was going on, I was on Lonesome's program, and I said, no, I can't bother with the foolishness to go there to go listen. So what happened? A friend of mine went and the video went up, and we took excerpts from it, and I sent something out and said to him that, listen, I sent it to him, but I didn't know he had blocked me. But somehow it must have gotten to him and gotten to the host of the program, that my lawyers were looking at it. And then the next thing you know, the video came down. But fortunately for us, it was streamed by a friend of ours. So we have the video. And another friend went through the video, frame by frame, line by line, and laid out the whole thing. So we believe that he made some damaging derogatory statement, and that he basically slandered me. So I think tomorrow he's going to be getting a letter asking for him to retract. And I found out last week that a retraction letter doesn't mean you're not going to sue. All it means is that it will mitigate your damages. So from the moment he retracts, you can't really collect damages from that point going forward. But between the time he made the statement and the time he retracts, that's the period you can claim damage. So we're going to see if he's going to retract or if he's going to come up with some explanation. Now, I must say that truth is a complete defense to any action like about defamation. If you can prove that what you're saying is absolutely true, then you're fine. He's saying that I got drummed out of the FBI, and it's funny because I was there almost 30 years. I stayed until the last day I could stay there, 57, because you have to retire at 57. And then I have my plaque showing I got in at 1987, retired 2017, and I have the card saying I left in good standing. So I don't know where he's getting his stories from, but we shall see. So, and I know he received a letter last week saying he should retract some statements he made about his former counselor. That has nothing to do with me, except to say that his lawyers will be busy because he'll be getting one from me. I think the lawyers are going to send it to him tomorrow. And by the way, I've made it clear that whatever damages I receive, I would like to use it to help set up a scholarship for inner city kids, and also to anyone who's pursuing a degree in media. We want to set up a foundation for responsible media reporting and help those students as well. I don't want anything. If any damages, I'll just put it all into this. I don't want anything.
Will, can I make a proposal to you? I would
Yes, sir.
contribute a little part of that to the Waterhouse vibes
No.
in terms of the project. I'm looking at.
Certainly will. I certainly will. So that's where we are with Minister Morgan. And I'm kind of surprised at him because he was, before he became a politician, I think it was 13 years before he became a politician, he was involved in the media. And then his first foray into politics, he was Director of Communications for the Office of the Prime Minister. And he has a law degree too. So I don't know how he could, he had the temerity to feel like he could just say whatever he wanted to say, and there'd be no consequences. Right. And he's been people in the government have been doing this for quite some time now. They've been saying things willy-nilly, and people just haven't taken them to task. Well, we're a different breed. This diaspora, at least the group I'm associated with, is a completely different breed than anything we've ever seen. Because we're unafraid, we're decisive, and we not take no talk. We just say, hey, you know what? We lean into the wind. We not lean back. We lean into the wind. And I look on one of the man right there, Herb Nelson, we're leaning into the wind too. Because there's a lot of things that we have to do, and we're planning to do. We have a couple of lawsuits planning right now for the Jamaican government, and so we're actively seeking funding to fund some of these lawsuits. And just so everybody, who's not aware of it, the One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation, you can send your donation to, just go to ojldf.org and make a donation. And we're looking to hold, it's one purpose, hold government accountable. That's it. And we have 5 ways now we're looking at doing it. 1 is lawsuits, 2, public relations campaign, 3, background investigations, 4, protests, and 5, which is the one that I think they're if there's one that they're deathly afraid of, it's number 5. Because number 5 has to do with something called the Magnitsky Act. And then you have the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and then you have Magnitsky, Magnitsky. It's named after a Russian lawyer who discovered a whole bunch of fraud going on involving Russian officials. And they arrested him, and long story short, they killed him in prison. And a couple of organizations and individuals petitioned the U.S. government to start up this law, and it was passed in 2012. And the purpose of it was to hold Russian officials accountable. But then in 2016, they established something called the Global Magnitsky Program. And now, any government official, any government, if you're involved in kleptocracy, corruption, or human rights abuse, then the U.S. government has a right to sanction you by revoking your visa, seizing your assets, and they put you on a list as well. And that's what they're afraid of. And in Jamaica, I think we have several solid cases. SOEs is one of them. The unlawful detention, and that's one of them. That's gross human rights abuse. And then there's one. Well, it's not one, but one case was highlighted last year, I believe. The guy who was in prison for 40 years and not charged, and just remember that guy. I'm being told that they have lots of people in prison in Jamaica that their cases haven't been heard. Some of them haven't even been charged; they're just detained. Those are gross human rights abuses. And so the Prime Minister is going to be held responsible. the Minister of National Security, the Permanent Secretary, the Police Commissioner, all of them will be held responsible.
The Governor General, don't forget him. Because
oh yeah, the Governor General, because you can't have a state of emergency without his proclamation. So we're planning to. So right now we had a meeting. Urban and I had a meeting this week, and we chatted some more yesterday. We're planning right now to approach the Organization of American States, U.S. State Department, and the U.S. Congress, and we're hoping to start some of those meetings, but before the end of this month, because the next protest is in May, so we want to keep the fire burning.
Question, Will.
Boy, I see the protest you guys have in Miami, and was good, man. Was good in terms of the participation and the message coming across. I think it must have shook them, you know, and the fact that is a series you guys plan over time. And you seem to have about 2 before the local government election, which is the 10th, and you have another date before the 28th or the 26th.
Right. And by the way, it's not, like I said, it's a series. We call it round robin, because when we finish, we're going to come right back to Miami and start all over again. So that's where we are. And New York, well, Miami, considering the limited time in which we had to plan that, it was a tremendous success. And I tell people it was the first time in the history of Jamaica that you have a diaspora group protesting against the government. First time in the history. And we got the permit 10 days before the actual protest. Now in New York, it's going to be completely different. We have plenty of time. And I'm sure if you listened to the program yesterday, Lance and Michael and Patrick, I'm sure they did. Yeah, people calling and people are saying, hey, people coming in from Philly, from Connecticut, from New Jersey, and of course, New York. And the beauty about it now is that we don't have to worry about transportation problems as we did in Miami, because, you know, everything's spread out and you have to drive in and face traffic and then the parking. New York mass transit is outstanding. Just jump on a train, and like somebody said yesterday, everybody's about 1 hour away on the train from the protest site. So we expect a nice turnout, and we'll have a bunch of speakers there, and you know we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely the New York one to get more thinner. But I got a question, Will. A question I want to ask you, Will. Pertaining to the that act you mentioned, not the Majinski, the other one. Is that one that is done through the international court?
No, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. It says that, and if you're an American and you go to Jamaica, for example, and you offer a bribe to an official, then you're exposed. You can be prosecuted. And that law came out in, I think, 1977. But just this past December, see, there was a loophole. There's a loophole. And now the loophole is closed. In just 2 months ago, what they passed a law now, which is extraordinary. They say that in order for a bribe to be completed, you have to have somebody giving it and somebody accepting it. The law was only focused on the person giving it. But now they said if you can identify a Jamaican official who requested the bribe, or even if he didn't request the bribe or she didn't request the bribe, but they accepted the bribe, they are also exposed in an American court. So the person who's giving it and the person who's receiving it. And when they say receive, they say you don't even have to ask for it. If the person offered it to you and you take it, you're exposed. So that is closed right now. So we have a couple. Oh, by the way, the Magnitsky law. There is a version of it in Canada. There's a version of it in the UK. There's a version of it in the EU. The difference is the one in the EU doesn't deal with corruption. It's just human rights abuse. But somebody was mentioning about the Patrick International Court. That's a whole other set of laws right there. So what we're doing is we have some people doing some research and they're coming up with all of these laws. And so we think we can build a very nice case around these laws, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So the government, I think right now they're worried because I think they're doing the research as well. Because when we mention these things, they go look to make sure, say, you know, we just now BS them, and they look and they say, and they know what they're doing. So and they know what they've done. And oh, by the way, the Magnitsky Act, it doesn't look present and forward. It looks backwards as well. Because just in December, I think a former Ecuadorian politician did something like years ago, and now he's sanctioned. So, and anybody, if feel free to just Google Global Magnitsky program, and it's run by the State Department, and it gives you a list of everybody. In fact, I think it's over 300 people that they've sanctioned already since it started in 2016.
I hope it deal with land as well, land acquisition.
If you can tie it to corruption, yes.
Gentlemen, at this point, we have to cut the conversation. You know, we are going now 2.5 hours, and I know it's a Sunday evening. Folks have stuff to do, so I want to thank you, all of you, for the contribution. There are certain things that we have to follow up on in terms of this. Maxine, myself, we'll have to get together with John Norton, because John Norton is working on something that we need to look at. That has to do with the non-profit, setting up the non-profit. So that is something that we have to follow up on. I think the listeners...
Michael, remember that we asked Will just to do the preliminary in terms of the proposal, you know.
Right, but there's some works being done. You know, there's a
Will is on the loop.
On the loop.
Kind of rope him in.
Yeah, no, you can't say to me. No, you can't. And loop in Herb as well, because we have a template already.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Right.
I found that out.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
We'll continue.
Can I ask you to just send me a link so that when we find some time when I started, then we can link in there or something?
Yeah, man. I'll get the details from Nita when we come off then. Come in if you want to say it on the ear. Yeah, and then we just send the thing. All right. Yeah, man. Y'all love it, man. Y'all love it.
Great, my brother.
Fatman.
Yeah, group, you want contact with you too.
Fatman.
Yes,
I want to thank you, my brethren. Thank you for the time, you know, spent with us. And please, I'm asking to follow up with Chris. You know.
All right.
Big up,
Fatman. We appreciate your presence, my brethren.
Yes,
all right.
Yes,
well, here, Maxine, all right, so respect.
All right. So until next week, stay warm. Up here's getting cold.
Hold on.
You stay warm.
Nita, before we go, just tell everybody to with tune in at them at the time.
Saturdays. On Saturdays.
Yeah. Hello?
Go ahead.
Nita, send me the link, Nita. Send me the link.
I will.
Nita, just give Patrick my number, please.
All right, I'll do all of that.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
Maxine, give Maxine my number too, please and thanks.
All right, Maxine.
All right.
They put everything
Maxine,
on
I
us,
want boyfriend you have now, you know.
All right.
I've been had them.
Don't get jealous, Rupert. Don't get jealous.
I hear you.
Remember what? Remember, Maxine, remember what I said to you?
Yeah, please don't repeat it.
No, we're gone. Sure, we talk.
All right.
Yes,
folks. See you next week.
All right, Herb.
All right.
Take care.